Hello, this is Mark. Welcome. Tonight, I'm having tea with Mariana. Mariana, want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, hello everybody. I'm Mariana Lacombe. Thank you so much for watching us right now. And thank you, Mark, for inviting me to have some tea.
Well, Mariana, before we went on live, I actually discussed a bit about fear and how do you help people with fear?
Okay, so today I am a coach. I'm a master coach. And one of my approaches is to understand how people really think and how they process feelings and emotions, and most importantly, fear, actually, because that's a basic feeling that people really experience every day in every situation in life. And it's actually a very how can I explain that? It's a very primary way of defense. So can you imagine ourselves living in many millions of years ago, and we are wired to defend ourselves from danger or for some things like this. So our brain is actually more wired to find problems, to find negative things around us, just to get defensive, just to defend ourselves. So fear is something very common to experience every day. But the point is when fear really stops us from achieving what we want or from doing what we really wanted, because sometimes fear can have no sense, actually. It can be totally irrational, and most of the times we don't know the source of the fear. We just experience that, but we don't know exactly where it comes from. And that's exactly where I help people to identify the source of fear and being able to deal with it, to move on in life, and to really move forward and do different things and really experience life at the fullest. So that's what I do.
So you also talked about, emotional healing, and that's a part of fear as well. So when you're working with somebody and they probably had a tough childhood and a probably traumatic experience of what or something like that, what would be your approach when working with this particular person?
My approach would be understanding what kind of fear this person really experiences, because I believe that we have basically two kinds of fears: the fear of being rejected and the fear of not being loved or not being enough. So if we are afraid of something going on, basically, or we are afraid of people just saying no and rejecting us, or people just don't loving us, avoiding to love us in some way. So what I do, I really like to understand how this person experiences fear. What happens in the beginning, what triggers fear, and how this person experiences fear. This fear is very broad. So sometimes people say, I'm fearful and I'm nervous, or I'm fearful and depressed. You can have different energies to explain fear, different intensities. So what I do, I understand the source, what causes the fear, what triggers what triggers thoughts and emotions that causes this person to feel fearful in some way. So that's how I identify that.
Well, that's a very good approach, and I really like that. So another thing I want to talk about is like self-love. And self-love to me is when you not only love yourself, but also you love what you're doing, and I'm pretty sure that opens a lot of doors to people's lives. So what are your thoughts about self-love?
Yes, that's interesting to say. You said self-love, not self-esteem, and most people get confused with both concepts because they're totally different. And you can really, really love yourself when you can deal with the fear of rejection, right? You're secure about yourself, you love what you do, and doesn't matter exactly what people are going to tell about what you do or think you're doing right or wrong, and the fear of being loved. So if you're not enough, you're not going to love yourself at the same time. So if you think what I do, what I am is not enough for people to love me, so I can love myself. That's basically what people always say. Like, you just can love other people if you love yourself. That's basically that. If you don't think you're enough for yourself, how can people say that you're enough? You'll not never be enough. That's how people really feel so frustrated and sad and depressed, trying to find love in other people, but they will never find because they will always think they're not enough inside. So first, of course, it's very important to understand the source of the rejection or the lack of self-love for you to be able to exchange experiences with other people in a healthy way, and to try different things, to be bold, to be courageous, and to really expand yourself as you think what you're doing is enough, or it's not wrong, it's not a problem, it's not stupid, or many other things that people think. I'm not going to do that because I will look stupid, or I'm going to look, I don't know, I'm not going to be approved. People won't like what I'm doing. So that's exactly the lack of self-love and a lot of fear of rejection and fear of not being loved. Right?
Mariana, you're doing awesome, and thank you very much again for being on. You know, I really like getting to know you. You know, one thing that I liked about you is your sense of compassion. I really feel that compassion is something that really defines you. What are your thoughts about compassion?
Compassion, I understand compassion by putting myself in the other person's position, to really understand the other person as you understand the world. So when I understand the world with your eyes or with your shoes, I can really be able to listen to you and help you in your point of view, not in my point of view. And by understanding your point of view, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing right. It's just the way that things occur to you, not to me. So that's one of my main, not skills, but that's one of the things I really love to do as a coach. Because there's some coaches that they don't work this way, but I understand that I can only help you if I understand your work, if I understand how you feel and how you felt in the past, so I can help you to feel in a different way in the future. And that's how I see compassion, in my humble opinion. I don't know if you agree with me, Mark.
I agree 100%. And one thing also is that you really do love what you're doing. And also, I have to say is that you really talk from your heart. You know, I really feel you put your heart into what you do. You know, so I think you have a good heart connection. Can you like elaborate about like, you know, how you connect with your heart and how you connect with other people?
Yeah, that was an exercise I really needed to do in my I don't know, in my early adulthood. So what actually, I was always very rational. I always consider myself that, despite the fact that I did psychology, I went to the psychology college. So one time I heard Tony Robbins saying, "If you go to the head, you're dead." And that was tough. I said, "What?"
Yeah, I got that.
Yes. If you go to your head, you're dead. Because actually your head, the way you think, it becomes very tricky because we are wired to get defensive, to feel fear, to avoid doing for things, to avoid change. That's how we are naturally wired. But when you go to your heart, when you go to what some people call intuition, maybe, or you become emotional or whatever, that's what your soul tells you to do. That's what your deepest intentions are, your best intentions are. So it's about being vulnerable. It's about really connecting to some different level of experience, of human experience. And sometimes, for example, right now I'm talking with you, I'm not making any kind of effort to talk. And I'm not speaking in my native language, but I'm not making any effort thinking what I'm going to answer, what am I going to do, or is this right, is this wrong? Something that we experience a lot in our exercises, right? So I'm just speaking with my gut, if I can say like that, because it's something that I'm living. But that's an exercise, because we all the time we have two voices in our head. One voice trying to tell you if it's right or if it's wrong, and this one is just you being you. So when you connect, when you really learn to avoid this other voice here, it's right, it's wrong, you know it's there, it must be there, right? Or we could just do crazy stuff every day. It must be here. It's extremely important sometimes. For example, if I'm doing my business plan, this voice here is talking a lot, it's very loud, but sometimes I have to shut it down, or so I can just turn this other voice here on, and that's on and on. When I'm talking with you right now, this voice here is on, the other one is just off, totally off. And that's the point from talking with the heart. If you just get connected to your soul, like what you really believe in, it's much easier, much easier. I don't have like I don't know exactly what you're going to ask me, or I don't know exactly what I'm going to tell you, but I'm telling you from my heart, and that's how things just flow. You just accept what you are, and then things flow. That's the point where people are just so stuck in some situations, because they're all the time trying to be right or wrong. They're just with this balance, right or wrong, as if it exists. It doesn't. Being right or wrong depends on how the other people is looking at you, if it's right, if it's wrong. So it doesn't matter. You just need to move on and be you. So you always be right. So that's how I understand working with my heart. Especially when I'm working with people with different idioms, different languages, different countries, or different things. So usually I was like, am I doing right? Am I speaking right? Are people understanding me, or it doesn't matter? I'm just doing what I love, and that's it. So everything flows.
and that's being natural. That's wonderful, because you have a wonderful gift. You have a gift to be able to connect with your heart and be true to yourself and others. And yet English is not your primary language,
Yeah,
and you don't let it stop you, So we all, and that's one thing I want to ask you about, because I think it's irrelevant to what you do and everything like that, is that we all have gifts and abilities, right? But something stops us. What is it that doesn't stop you?
What stops me?
No, what doesn't stop you? Like people like English isn't your primary language, but you're doing coaching in English, you're talking in English, and you have this gifts. You're not letting anything stop you, But other people, they have gifts, but they're not living them because they get stopped, So what advice can you have for these people?
Yes. Well, they stop because they don't have enough reasons to move on. That's the point. They don't have a reason to overcome this fear or overcome an obstacle. So you always need to have a huge reason, a huge purpose, many whys of why you should just move on and overcome a fear or an obstacle or a challenge, any other thing. When you have a huge purpose, something extremely strong, and something that you really believe in, there's nothing else that stops you. Nothing else. You just need to know exactly what you want. That's why most people just don't do anything, because maybe they want, but they don't desire. They don't have like that passion in life or any other thing that would just make them like glow every day and just raise and just wake up. Oh my God, thank God, this is just a new day. Oh my God, I'm going to sleep right now. Oh my God, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be awesome. Most of the people, they don't have that. They don't have a clue of what they are going to do in the future, or what they are going to do maybe next week, or it's Friday, what are you going to do this weekend? I have no idea. They are not used to project the future. So what I do, I really have many huge reasons, and my purpose of life is like great. So these little details are nothing. They used to be huge. They used to be big. But at some point, the pain of keeping the same was much bigger than the pain of change. So that's something very important to understand as well. Because some people, they don't change because the pain of the change is much bigger than the pain of being the same. So at some point of your life, if you change something that you hated, it was because this change became a must. It's not just I want, I should, or something like that. It became a must because you couldn't stand your situation at that moment. So if there's something that you really want to change, or a challenge, a huge challenge, or a huge limitation that you saw for yourself and you don't know exactly how to overcome it, you create this future, you create this vision of purpose, what you really want in the future. And some people, actually, we change for two reasons: to avoid pain or to get pleasure, right? So we create lots of pleasure in the future, and some people just change if they create an immense amount of pain connected to the actual situation. So, for example, during the Tony Robbins event, he during Unleash the Power Within, there isn't how can I say, there's something that Tony does with people that is called the Dickens process. And it's exactly that. He brings your stories, your limiting beliefs, as we say, to the present. And with visualizations, we project the consequences of these limiting beliefs, the actual limiting beliefs, in 1 year, and how many people you hurt, what you've lost, are you healthy, are you happy, are you in a relationship? And then he projects it to 5 years. How are you feeling right now? Keeping the limiting beliefs, feeling that way, and 10 years, 20 years. That's just the most like insane experience that I ever had in my life. Which is exactly that, projecting the amount of pain of keeping this fear in the present, so you change just right now. I can't stand it anymore. So there are some strategies, extremely interesting strategies with coaching, to make people made change a must, but not just a should. I should do something, I should do that, to turn that into a must. I must change, or I must continue, I must overcome it. It's about creating leverage and building that leverage in some point that you never remember anymore how you used to be with this silly fear in the past, you know. So that's one of the things that I really do with some of my clients that are more resistant to change than others who are more open to this conversation. So some people are like that.
Wow. Wow. I'm blown away right now. Really hit the hammer on that one, you know?
Yeah.
But one thing that I want to ask you as well, and you know, there could be someone that's listening to the show right now live, or someone listening to the recorded version. It could be someone that you know or total stranger, and it could be now, or it could be in the near future. But let's say someone doesn't really know what it is that they want, or don't have a purpose. Do you give any advice for a particular person?
For a person that doesn't know a purpose, I think there are actually three questions that can change you forever, and those questions, they must be made like always, every day, or not only on New Year's Eve, creating your New Year's resolutions. Not that. I mean every day. And I ask those questions for myself every day. The first question is, what do I really want? So what do you want? If there's a person that's totally lost, I have no clue, just ask her, what do you want? What is the result? What's the outcome? What is your ultimate vision of what you want in? And then you can, if sometimes you ask them, in 5 years. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in 1 year. Okay, so go backward. In 1 year, what would you like to do? What would be the ultimate outcome? What would be that? And then this person can create that. And the second question would be, but why? Why do you want this outcome? So you can create leverage. If you know your why, you're going to overcome anything. So, but the why, the reason must be extremely strong, or you can have many reasons, many different reasons. And the third one would be, what do you need to do? Of course, because it's important to have action as well. So by knowing what you want, why, and creating some actions, some specific actions that you can measure, and establishing like deadlines or people that are responsible, or something that you need to do, put it in a calendar, and then you just move on. That's how you can really change anything. You can solve any different challenge or any obstacle, create any huge change or small change in life, if you follow these three important questions. But of course, it's extremely hard to do that by ourselves, because fear will take over most of the times. So that's exactly how I fell in love with my work, which is coaching, because I had coaches helping me overcome my fears. So if I'm not fearful right now to talk with you in English, it's because I had coaches helping me. So coaching is something that can really serve people that know exactly what they must do or what they have to do, but for some reason they just don't do. So we know what to do, we know the stats, but we don't do. So that's how really a coach is someone who is extremely prepared to see how the mindset works, how this person creates leverage and avoids pain or to get pleasure. So I can see that and understand exactly what's happening, as it's like a circuit. Like, you know exactly where the bug is. What's happening here? Okay, I saw the bug. Okay, let's fix that. Being very simple, simplistic, but that's it. You know, that's what I would suggest. 3 important questions: what's the outcome, what's the purpose, and what to do. And magic happens all of a sudden. That's how it works.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
You're such a natural.
Shortcut.
You're so natural. All right, we're going to close out. I want to read an affirmation, and I think this really is relevant to everything. So I think that this actually, I think, really hits for you as well. I'll read it twice, all right? It says, with compassion for myself and others, I engage the process, healing from past wounds, and I embrace with joy the recovery of my wholeness. I like that. With compassion for myself and others, I engage the process, healing from past wounds, and I embrace with joy the recovery of my wholeness. So I think it's very relevant to what we were talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's perfect. I loved it. So great.
I just want to say thank you very much for being on tonight. And how do people, get a hold of you and tell them about, a little more about, how you can help them?
Of course, yes. Well, I am in every single social media. People can find me very easily. Well, but my email is Mariana, Mariana at thetop.me. The top is THETOP.me. So I'm totally open to everybody that wants to reach me. If they can find me on Facebook as well, I'm online all the time and I respond to instant messages and I'm extremely available to everybody. Or people can post here as well with their information and I can reach them immediately. And I live here, I live in Boca Raton, right? So people in Florida can find me here all the time, or we can Skype or something like this. I can talk. I would be totally glad to help everybody that is watching or got a little curious about what I do and how I can help them as well. And that would be great. That would be awesome.
So that's Mariana at the top.
.me. .me.
.me.
Yes.
Marianne at the top.me.
Yes. Me. Like .me.
Awesome. Thank you.